Good morning. I hope you're off to a good start this Thursday. Today we are going to talk about the 14th Amendment, and you're going to be doing some learning about the 14th Amendment on that doc in Google Classroom today. So, for the 14th Amendment, first thing you should know is it took a long time to get this thing passed in the Congress and then ratified by the states. So it was finally ratified on July 9th, 1868, okay? So it took a couple of years for this thing to finally make it through. But you might wonder, what is the 14th Amendment anyway, and how does it differ from the 13th Amendment? You know, the 13th Amendment got rid of slavery, but still allowed for a form of slavery based on if you had committed a crime, you could be put back into a form of slavery, correct? So what the 14th was trying to do, it was trying to establish citizenship for African Americans. That was the basic gist of it, but there's more to it than that. So let's take a look. First thing is there's this whole issue that continues to come up. And if you look at this political cartoon, here it's called the Anchor Baby Diaper. And we can see that there is the Constitution with "we the people," those famous 3 words, right? Well, anchor babies, it's a term that's been used for when a person crosses the border, a woman crosses the border into the United States, has a child, and that child then automatically becomes a citizen. It is called birthright citizenship. And it is one of the parts of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment said if you were born in the United States, then you have citizenship and you also have rights in the state in which you reside. So there's been a lot of controversy around birthright citizenship. Okay, Donald Trump was talking about this about a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half. And it was coming up because of the heated debates about immigration. So just something for you to be aware of. The 14th Amendment is still something that causes some controversy today, especially when it comes to this idea of birthright citizenship. Now, the second thing about the 14th Amendment is it was saying that no state shall make or enforce any law which denies to any person within its jurisdiction equal protection of the laws. So equal protection of the laws. Okay? So citizens have rights. That is a big difference between the 13th Amendment and the 14th Amendment. The 13th Amendment did not say that African Americans were citizens. It was the 14th Amendment that established that precedent. Okay? Now, another thing is when you're a citizen, you have the right to vote. Voting is something that's really important. So this was also something that was stated in the 14th Amendment, is that African Americans are allowed to vote, and that there would be penalties for states who tried to prevent African Americans from exercising their rights. Now, keep in mind, we know with the Black Codes that many African Americans' rights were violated. So the Black Codes violated this right, as well as the KKK, and other domestic terrorists. Something to keep in mind. Here's a very famous political cartoon called The First Vote. Just something to keep in mind. It was a very big deal, and that's something that the 14th Amendment was supposed to guarantee and extend to all African American men, not women. They decided to leave women out of it after an intense debate. Oh, man. Nope. Okay? African American men. So, another thing that you should be aware of is that what the 14th Amendment also established is that any person who had served in the Confederacy, if they had been a government official in the Confederacy, or a high-up-ranking officer in the Confederacy, they were not allowed. They were not allowed to serve in Congress. That's kind of a big deal. Okay, so that's also part of the 14th Amendment that's spelled out. Another thing is that the Union would not be responsible for any of the Confederacy's war debt. The Confederacy would just have to deal with that for themselves, right? So, nope, not paying for it. Ha ha. Okay? Now another thing that you should know. This guy, Andrew Johnson. So, president after Lincoln, right? Well, he said, veto. Well, unfortunately for him, though, it was a Republican majority in the House and the Senate at that time, and so they were able to override his veto once again, just like they did with the 13th Amendment. So this guy, again, did not get his way. Andrew Johnson. Okay, so he was made to sit on his hands on this one. Now, something that you should also be aware of is the 14th Amendment stated that Congress would have the power to enforce this amendment. They would have the power to make laws to help to enforce it. So, Congress would have more power. It's like the all-powerful genie. Okay? So, they were happy about that. Then also, one final thought for you guys is the 14th Amendment effectively overturned the Dred Scott decision. And Dred Scott was that slave who had been taken to a state, a free state, and he had, after his master's death, he had petitioned the courts for his freedom. And they said, well, one, you shouldn't be in front of us because you're not a citizen. And so if you're not a citizen, you can't sue the court and you don't have any rights. And nope, you're going to be a slave. Okay? So the 14th Amendment overrules that, and it was finally ratified July 9th, 1868. Very big deal. Alrighty? So we're moving closer and closer to a more fair, more equal, and more just system. Now, the 14th Amendment was also used as a precedent for allowing other groups to establish that they should have equal rights, including the LGBTQ community has often referred to the 14th Amendment among other groups. So remember, for your assignment today, what you guys are going to be doing is working on this page of the Google Doc that has been assigned to you in classroom. This is day 2. So today, Thursday, you are working on the 14th Amendment, which you just learned about. Make sure that first you have to watch the video. So make sure that you watch this first. You'll learn a lot from this guy. He's an amazing historian who knows all about Reconstruction. You will write a summary of what he's talking about in the video. Make sure you get just the facts and get plenty of them, and then write your response. Share your thinking on it as well. Then your next step is you go through, read carefully Section 1, Section 2, and then also Section 5. Sections 3 and 4 I skipped because they're no longer really relevant today. We don't worry about these two things today so much. So please paraphrase 1, 2, and 5, and then make sure over here again that you are choosing images that relate to the meaning of this particular amendment, and be sure to explain your thinking. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Wanted to leave you with one final moment of Zen. A moment in the sun. Have a good one, guys.